Good evening. This is Selwyn Collins from New York. I got thrown off. Good evening. This is Selwyn Collins of CWS as it is from New York. Thank you all for joining this afternoon. Guyana at 50, it's Crossroads, and it's Diaspora. And one of the questions under the Crossroads is, where are we heading and how are we going to get there? There are many discussions, cyberspace and elsewhere, about why are we doing this and if it's really important and if it makes sense. Well, of course, we come from a country where a lot of us are affected by things that have happened in the past, and there's no shortage of discussions and conversations. So many people have become jaundiced by this idea that people get together and talk. But one of the things I recognize is that we spend a lot of time talking at each other. And what I'm trying to accomplish here is to create an environment where we can speak with each other, where we can come together regardless of ethnicity or gender, and have some discussions, some cogent discussions on how we may move our country forward. One of the things I realized in the past several weeks of these discussions is that we must continue to engage in the sharing of ideas and solutions, but in a respectable way. We should have a national project, and that is very interesting. What is the national project? How do we define this national project, and how can we make these contributions? And apart from the basic needs of a family, food, health, clothes, shelter, and education, Guyanese want their country to move forward, and people want to be respected. Here is what a colleague of mine said, that to develop and move Guyana forward, we need as many contributors as possible. As such, there is a huge cry for effective communication and engagement between the government and the diaspora. The diaspora should be kept informed about government plans and issues that might be of interest to the diaspora. I want to get started because we have an hour, yes, to this first segment, but trust me, once we get started, our hour just runs out. That's okay. Sonia Noel, Charles Mona, and Dr. Roshkan, welcome and thank you for lending your voices to this very important discussion.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Charles, I guess I should turn on your mic.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing Charles.
Well, you won't be able to see Charles because Charles is live in the studio, sitting right opposite me.
I'm seeing Roche. Oh, okay.
Right, you can see Roche, right?
Hi, Charles, I'm not seeing you.
Okay.
But you're here in Sky. I'm just going to put a face to Charles. So that's the face.
How are you?
Well, let's
I was listening to you here.
let's get.
And,
Go ahead, Sonia.
the Charles, now I was listening when you were talking and talking about the link between the diaspora government, of course, and the people that are living here. And that is key. And it is very, very important for development because, I have friends in the diaspora. I go, I travel a lot, especially to the U.S. I go sometimes to Toronto, London, but to the U.S. And I know Guyanese there are very, very keen, and especially now, I find they're very keen in what happens in Guyana. It's so surprising sometimes that Guyanese tell me what's happening in the papers here. Some of them, when they have their coffee, it's online, the Kaishore, whatever newspaper. They're so zoned in, and they want, I think, they all have the interest for a better Guyana. And sometimes I know there is a little friction because some people think that, the diaspora think that they know too much, they think they know, and sometimes you hear, a lot of conflict and statement, but I think we all are Guyanese. It doesn't matter where we live, and we all have this blessed country of ours at heart. And there's some expertise sometimes that can be lended from the diaspora to us to make whatever developmental process, better. So I am totally for the collaboration and embracing the diaspora.
Charles, I want to bring you in on this. We are having this discussion. Why do you think that this type of discussion is important?
Well, for us to move ahead, we definitely need, as Sonia mentioned, collaboration. And I think we need to harness the total resources that are available to us as a community, as a Guyanese community. We have thousands of very skilled individuals working in different sectors all around the globe. And if we can just tap into that and harness some of that resource to help to develop Guyana, I think it would be a tremendous benefit to everyone currently and in the future. Because at the end of the day, everyone that I encounter in the Western world do have a place in which they relate to. The Chinese say, that they're Chinese or Nigerian. I mean, they always reflect back to their homeland. And I think it's Guyanese are becoming more aware of the importance of reclaiming or developing our homeland. So at the end of the day, there is some place in which we can return if that need be.
Rush, you wanna before I continue, I must apologize to Ronald James. Ronald's on the second segment. It is His Excellency Mr. Sharma. I told his assistant earlier that if he's late today, I am about 60% certain I might be coming to Guyana, and when we connect, there's going to be a little misunderstanding. All right. Rush, you want to take it from here? Why do you think this is important to have these discussions?
Look, I absolutely agree with Charles and Sonia. And to be completely honest, I think the public and the private sector has to take a page out of your book, Selwyn. Look at what you're doing here. Bringing people together, having conversations, exchanging ideas. This is what we need to do with the diaspora in a systematized and strategic way. It's really the only way we're going to be able to tap into the resources, as Charles says, but more than that, more than just tapping into the resources, how do we make them a part of the journey? Not just, oh, we've got a brilliant idea, let's talk to the diaspora. Oh, we need some funds, let's talk to the diaspora. How do we involve them in the entire process of national development? That's what we need to do, and I think they can take a page out of your book.
Well, thank you, Rush.
I think Selwyn has been doing a really tremendous job in getting messages out there, bringing people together from all parts of the globe. And that's one of the things I really admire him from. And I always tell him how proud I am of what he's doing at CWS. And, he's doing a lot of extension, I know there's a lot of pipeline work there that is going to be shown soon to the public. But Selwyn has been, as a Guyanese, I'm so proud that he cares so much about that. And he might be out there, but he does.
Thank you. Brother Sharma?
How are you doing, Selwyn?
Welcome, my brother.
Good afternoon to everyone. And let me say, you know me already, Selwyn. I just finished my radio program, and after this, I'm heading off to Channel 9 on another program with Mr. Vincent Alexander to speak about local government. So,
the life of a politician, Sharma.
But I am not in active politics anymore. I think I am still able to make a contribution. Let's call it.
It is in your DNA. It is in your DNA. There's no escaping it. So,
Sharma, you see?
Compliments, Sonia. All the way up the International Women's Day, and much success on pulling out that wonderful event, so.
Brother Sharma, while I have you on camera, right? While I have you on camera, I want to say this. Guyana is at a crossroads.
Yes.
One leads to exclusivity and status quo and of the past, and the other, a decent and inclusive modern state. Should Guyana's diaspora, I asked this question before, and it was suggested that we shouldn't be asking this question anymore. Should Guyana be part of the calculus? Because it is evident. But we need to impress upon our fellow citizens how important it is that we have an inclusive camp. What are your thoughts on that?
I mentioned the last time, Selwyn, and I feel very strongly about this and passionate about inclusivity in terms of decision making. I believe also our history in our origin and how we would have been composed, the composition of Guyana and how many Guyanese with the history of coming together did so. There is a lot of mistrust. There is. We can try to hide from it whether that mistrust is among gender, it is among races, those who live in the diaspora. It is a fact. It is a fact that I believe we can only address if we seriously start to think about mechanisms and ways of how we can start to look at that. And I did mention the last time, and indeed, Mr. Paris made this as a submission. So in that report that went to the Prime Minister, there is that submission as a recommendation for the diaspora to have the opportunity to have a seat at the decision-making table. I think that will quell many of the concerns and fears that those who are outside of Guyana can also have a voice at that table, which is going to make decisions for not only Guyana, but all Guyanese that live in and out of Guyana. And I strongly believe in promote and support that. So I believe those are some of the ways we can look at it. We have to be willing to be able to make bold steps to really resolve some of these issues that are affecting us. And I think the time is right for us to move in such a direction.
You know, Brother Sharma, and Charles, I want to ask you this particular question. Brother Sharma, you can chime in on this. While it is not practical for many in the diaspora to physically go back together, we can still make a contribution. But then there are those who fall into that group that wish to return, wish to make a contribution being physically there. What kind of reintegration framework do you believe should exist for returns?
Well, that is for me. I'll tell you.
Yeah, Brother Sharma, you can answer that.
Well, I have had the good opportunity, by the grace of God, to travel a lot and to meet many Guyanese who share that passion of returning home. And they know what they want in terms of returning home. They know, as Guyanese, what capacity or capabilities they have, whether it's a retired teacher or also someone who is industrious in terms of their adventure into entrepreneurial activities. However, I also see for the systems that exist in Guyana, the Remigrant program wasn't such a bad program. I think now you see the new government saying they'll have to take a stronger look at it. I think it is one that was abused and it was allowed for a lot of corruption to take place. But I believe those programs are programs that need enhancing, and with more ideas, those Guyanese outside of Guyana can also, instead of having those ideas and concepts discussed overseas in different forums and different engagements, should be making those pitched right home so that it involves consideration of what they want. The Remigrant program that was put in place almost 10 years ago is in itself outdated and antiquated. It doesn't cater for new dynamics, new economic models in the world. It doesn't cater for new programs that are existing outside of here. And this is where the input from those in the diaspora becomes necessary as we look to redesign. So the point I'm making, the diaspora will hear, or as they witnessed 2 weeks ago, the new government saying that they will work to develop a better Remigrant program. But you will not have the start of, and if you don't take advantage now, you will not have the start of meaningful engagement that takes into consideration voices outside of Guyana. So you're likely to have a next program which is to welcome people home. It gives concession in duty-free. It gives different initiative, but it doesn't take into consideration the real principles, who are the people living outside of Guyana and what people would want to see such a program designed by. So I believe that we have to pay attention to things like that, but I believe the program in itself means well, but it needs a better approach in terms of the involvement of others, not just Guyanese, but those outside.
So, Charles, before I bring Charles in on this, in the chat room, GT Bonnet asks, which report which report are you referring to that went to the Prime Minister?
The Prime Minister a few months ago received from Nigel Hughes, there is not necessarily a constitutional committee, not a commission, there's a committee that was established to start the discussion on constitutional reforms headed by Nigel Hughes. And I think they made the first submission a few months ago. Aslin Paris is also part of that commission. Last Monday, Mr. Paris celebrated his 75th birthday. I had the opportunity to share that very special moment with him. And again, I took the liberty to bring that discussion up about his thoughts and that suggestion that he made in that report to eliminate that level of mistrust that exists between the Guyanese home and the diaspora, those living abroad, by having them able to have a seat in the legislative chamber of Parliament.
Charles, do you want to?
Yeah, Sharon mentioned quite a number of things there. I'm going to kind of comment on the first thing. He spoke about inclusivity and people being able to, the opposition having a seat at that table. I mean, that mistrust goes back, more than 100 years, and we can thank the British for that. So that's something maybe we need to go revisit where that mistrust actually started, and kind of resolve those issues, because at the end of the day, Guyana is less than 1 million people. There's more than enough space for everyone to enjoy a good life. As it relates to harnessing the talents and the skill set of Guyanese globally, there are those of us who may want to contribute but not necessarily want to return. And in addition to creating those remigrant programs, maybe you can develop a database where the people in the diaspora can submit their information, their field of expertise, their availability. Some people have a month's vacation, some people have 2 weeks. Maybe they would like to come down in those 2 weeks to consult, to assist in any way possible. We need to try every avenue possible to basically collect as much information as possible and harness that talent, the skill that's available to Guyana in general.
Sonia, Sharma, and Dr. Khan, you guys reside in Guyana. What are you seeing so far that would encourage you to reach out to your friends and colleagues in the diaspora?
I'm trying to get these dogs to bark less.
Sorry? What did you say, Sonia?
I'm trying to get the dogs to bark less.
Oh!
I tried to get my dogs to bark less. Salmon, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear the question very well.
Oh, the question is, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Sonia?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
All right. The question is,
Yeah, I'm hearing you better.
the question to the three of you in Guyana, what are you seeing in Guyana that would encourage you to reach out to your friends and colleagues in the diaspora to take a chance and invest in Guyana?
What we've seen happening in Guyana now.
Yes.
Before I get to that, one of the things that, I'm listening to everyone speaking, and one of the things I believe strongly, and I know Mr. Solomon mentioned the word trust, and I do believe there's some level of mistrust that's happening. But also, I think what has been happening is, and it's not just only in Guyana, but we're talking specifically about Guyana. I think people, we have become so selfish, we have egos and everything, we're not looking at the big picture. And a lot of times, too, I think we are lacking, we're not being our brother's keepers anymore. The love and everything that feels like it's not there anymore. So when you have those elements not in the equation, sometimes it is not, the cohesiveness would not be there. So I think a lot of that we have to work on getting back, building that trust, as Mr. Salman said. We have to work on being our brother's keepers again, and we have to work on developing that love and caring and stop, put our egos aside and our selfishness and just think about the big picture. I think that we have to really get that back into the equation.
I have a question. And Rush, you want to get in on this?
Sure. Sometimes, in as much as we have to accept the reality of the situation, I'm a big believer in being an optimistic realist as well. And this happens every single time I move around. So just recently, I was in Jamaica for the Caribbean 2030 Forum, and I was speaking to one of the big entrepreneurs in Jamaica. I don't want to call his name because I'm gonna tell you what he told me. He says, "Roche, you guys in Guyana, y'all are idiots. And I go, excuse me, what? And he says, no, y'all are idiots. There's so much opportunity in Guyana. I am about to send my team to Guyana so that we can make a whole lot of money. You know, and I've heard this time and time again from entrepreneurs in New York, Guyanese entrepreneurs in New York, Guyanese entrepreneurs in Atlanta, and now this is not even a Guyanese, but it has ties to Guyanese. He lives in Jamaica. You know, and he was talking about not just feeding the Caribbean. We tend to have this discussion a lot. You know, agriculture at a large scale, but really feeding the world, and the massive opportunities that are available. And sometimes I think we get so caught up in our day to day that we don't necessarily take the time to realize, the resources that we have available, and the fact that we can do a lot of things if we get the right people together, if we strategize the right way, and we do our homework. And roll up our sleeves to make it happen. Now that might seem, a bit vague and a bit generalist, but the truth is, that's all it takes. I mean, we need to get a good idea and we need to run after it.
Mm-hmm. Right? Which begs the question: does this aid?
The word potential since I was a child. The word potential. I got so much potential. I just started in that word.
I think if I can chime in.
Go ahead.
If I can chime in, Roshan and Sonia, the thing is, I think the thing is, Selwyn, the question that you asked about what is there to encourage persons to want to invest, and very excellent answer by Rosh in terms of what we have. But I think more than anything else that we are now with, though the months are moving by and it's appearing very quickly, it's change. We've had a big change in this country. And I said this before in your program, Selwyn, that you cannot take for granted the opportunities that come with change. You, as an investor, as someone who would have had the opportunity to look at what is available in Guyana and how do they have access to that, for whatever impediments we have had before, you now have a change in the management of the system. You don't have a change in the system, you have a change in the management of the system. Of course, now we need to see the system in itself start to move to have some changes where investors can feel secure. You need to see a more secure Guyana. People need to ensure that the crime and security doesn't only relate to the stick-up robberies. We need to see the blue-collar criminals and those things that really affect the society, like money laundering, that devalues legitimate business and things like that. Those type of changes that are now here, that goes after drug dealers, that goes after people who make it difficult for small entrepreneurs to feel confident that if they put their business out there, they can see returns. I think we have that change. Our potential has never been limited, as Ms. Noel said, in terms of our resources. I mentioned this to you. Region 10 is the basket of resources, minerals, wood, human-wise in terms of our skill. We have water we are exporting.
Farmers, look at how many even female farmers. Mm-hmm.
All of that, but yet still we're in this very horrible and depressing state in Region 10, and it translates to the rest of Guyana. So I think we have to take first advantage of the change that we are seeing. Those changes, whether they were political changes, we see it now transitioning to the local stage where more empowerment is going to be given to people through having local government. Now you can now go to councils as an entrepreneur, as a diaspora investor, and you can not only have to reason with central government, you can go to the local authorities and you can now engage them in business on behalf of those communities. And I think those are some of the changes that if we pay attention to at the level of Guyana, to sell to the diaspora, and the diaspora paying attention to having access to things that they found difficult before, I think you can see some movement to exploit those potentials.
Sure.